The Cutting That Made Me Whole. Why did you write it?
So the truth of the matter is, Sherry, I didn't want to write it because that meant that I had to be vulnerable. When God gave it to me, I thought it was going to be something cute. But when he revealed that I had to tell me and how I went through the cutting, I honestly, at the beginning, didn't want to write it.
Wow. Really? That's fascinating to hear. But now you got to tell us how Jesus convinced you to do it.
And so God began to show me that my journey is somebody else's freedom. That the process that he took me through was going to make somebody else's life change. And so in order for me to be who I am and to walk in what he assigned to me, I had to show people the real me.
Why is it so hard for women to take off the mask, to reveal the dirty, dark secrets? Tell me the mental process it took for you to get to that point, that you were ready to release and just serve God's people with your book and your story.
Woo, that was a process. And so really actually having to tear that down and get over the fear of public opinion, get over the fear of what other people would think about me, get over the fear about, people having their own level of judgment. That's the process I had to actually go through and realize I'm not what happened to me. I'm not what I experienced. It was just a part of my journey. And that's what I had to embrace as God made me open up and show people me. Because somebody needed to know this journey to get here wasn't always cute. It wasn't always comfortable, and it didn't always feel good.
You talk about it's very important that women, men seek God about their destiny and in their purpose. Why do you say that? Because now we're moving into identity, which is so crucial when you are a Christian believer.
Because for me, because of my background, I thought I had to be a certain way. So for many years, I was living somebody else's destiny. I was living somebody else's promise because I thought that's what they expected from me. But when I actually sought God to learn the authentic me, which I could only find in him, that's when I realized I really had been living something that wasn't even destined for me. And the minute I tapped into me, that's when I really saw purpose to begin to unfold in my life.
And I want you to talk about what inspired I Am More Now. What inspired that?
So I Am More Now teaches women that they are more when God says they are. And that came out of my own personal experience because I suffered with low self-esteem. I suffered with not liking who I was. I suffered with dressing up, looking the part, but not liking the person in the mirror, not understanding who I was. And so I Am More Now literally lets them know not when you get to the end, not when you get to the promise, even on the journey, you are all that God created you to be. And you got to take it one piece at a time. And that's what I had to do for me. Even if I wasn't all I should have been, I was all I needed to be at that moment.
We talk about church hurts and people who are wounded in the church. And I want to kind of use a scenario of the cut that people get from people in church. It could be the lay member, the pastor, whoever, and they're so wounded that they leave. Have you ever experienced that?
Well, I talk about that in my book. And so one of those was after my grandfather, who I call my dad, he raised me, after he passed suddenly, the same church I had served, the same church I gave my all, now didn't think my anointing was good enough. This same church now told me that his successor would be chosen outside. I wouldn't even be considered. Now, mind you, I had been serving alongside of him for 10 straight years, proven and everything. But now the same people who benefited from my anointing, now that my dad was gone, said the anointing wasn't good enough.
What? How did that impact you emotionally and mentally?
So it actually really put me in a real dark space for a period of time where I questioned whether or not I was really good enough. whether or not I really had the anointing I thought I was operating in, whether or not I was gifted, whether or not I could preach, whether or not I could sing, was I qualified? Was I really good enough? And really, God had to have a come to Jesus moment with me. And he said, who called you, me or them?
Dr. Vaughn, in our closing moments, can you share an inspiring message with the audience today?
Absolutely, Sherry. I want everybody watching today to know that your healing is personal. Your journey is personal. Your salvation is personal. What do you mean by that, Dr. Vaughn? That means that it was handcrafted just for you. It's not going to look like anybody else, so don't compare yourself to anybody else. Just lean in and enjoy your journey.